Okay everyone, and welcome back to another video. So today, slightly different, a little bit along the same themes of what I've been doing over the last sort of few weeks, and similar to the video I think it was on Monday that I put out. So what we're going to talk about today is you don't have a motivation problem, it's a thinking problem that you've got. Now this is something that I've struggled with, even sort of in the last couple of days where the scales have stalled a little bit, but I've been doing everything right. I'm not sure if the look's changing anymore. So it's something that has been kind of on my mind, something that I thought I would try and make a video out of today. So I kind of want to break down, how your thoughts are quietly dictating your results, just how that's leading into sort of the day-to-day, the thinking traps that I see, not only with myself, but clients, and hopefully some simple tools that you can use to get away from that. So your thoughts very much run the show, first of all. So it's, people sometimes get to the thing of that they need to train more, that they need to eat better, that they need to be more disciplined, but your actions are driven by how you feel. So basically, it's a thing of thought, feeling, action, result. Okay, so that's the chain that it works on. So the first thought when your alarm goes off, we've all been there. This is pointless. I'm knackered. I'll start next week. I'll have another hour in bed. Whatever it is, you've lost that battle before you even have got out of bed to even try. It's the same with the food. Every day, every time that you have maybe a bad day with the food, it could be, oh, I've ruined it anyway. What's the point? I'll start again next Monday. Then of course you'll overeat. Of course that brings binge, typically if you're like me and like what my past was. And it's not because that you have any serious problem. It's just because you're running the same script on repeat. So before we go about into some new habits, we need to talk about the thoughts behind them. So a lot of the time it's these kind of like broken thinking patterns that people's got. So I want to go through a few patterns I see over and over. And if you're listening, just notice which ones may align with you. So it could be all or nothing. So this could be, I'm either perfect or I'm a failure. You miss one gym session, you go over calories slightly, maybe treat yourself, and the story becomes, I've blown it, I can't do this, I might as well go off the rails, might as well give up. Whereas in reality, you're one meal, one walk, one session away from just being back on track. And all or nothing thinking is probably the biggest killer of progress. You don't need, perfect, you just need to be consistent. That's the thing that I talk about. So catastrophizing is another thing as well. I think I've got the right word there when I've made my notes. But turn the small problem into the end of the world. So it's kind of the thing of you'll step on the scales, maybe they fluctuate a bit due to stress, sleep, your glycogen, water retention, things like that. And instead of thinking, oh, it could be any of those things, it's just, this isn't working, I'm getting fat, I'm out of shape, this isn't worth it. And it's you create this story that just isn't real, but your body still reacts, your mood still changes, and your actions follow along the way with that. Okay. There's a lot of this as well that I see, and that's the what's the point thinking. And I've been there, I've had it, I do get it. And, I've tried it before, it didn't work. It's just going to be the same as last time. It's just that thing of half-assing your diet, half-assing your training, your lifestyle, the not getting things done when you know you need to get them done. And then you try and you almost justify it's proving yourself right because you didn't get the result. It was like, oh yeah, well, what was the point? It's the problem. The problem is not thinking that nothing works. The problem is that you never give anything a fair run because your mind's already gone before you've decided it. I've been in and around the same weight for the last 5 days now, maybe. Even though every box has been ticked, everything's been perfect. There's no stress. Everything's good, and even I'm kind of caught myself slipping a little bit this morning, think, well, what's going on? Why is this happening? And so it's just the consistency that you need to have to keep going. Sometimes it's the identity label. So this is something that I've seen a lot, some conversations I've had in the DMs, even things that have maybe slipped into me in the past. It's the thing of, oh, I'm just lazy, or I'm an anxious person, I'm depressed, I'm just not disciplined, I've been a binge eater, I'm always going to be that way, And the problem with these things is the mind will start believing what you tell it. So if you keep telling yourself these things, they're just sentences that are practiced. It just ends up being part of you. You know, if you have this obsessed thinking where you're not even trying, you're not even going to the gym, whatever it is, and you just have this thing of, oh, I think I'm depressed, you know, and, you know, it could be, oh, I'm lazy, you know, you're just going to believe that, and you'll just accept that as an excuse to do nothing, to not change, to still remain unhappy. So every time that you say I am, you know, so I am lazy, something like that, you're building a case for that identity. Now, I'm not saying you need to go and completely go the other way and be like, I am a strong person, I can do this, but you need to have a little bit of that behind you. When your identity's lazy, your brain will always choose the option that matches that story. So skip the gym, sack the walk off, sack the food shop off, the meal prep, whatever. You don't build discipline by waiting to feel motivated or waiting to feel like a different person. You build the discipline by acting like someone who is disciplined before you feel like one. And it's just the little things. It's like last night, you know, I'm looking out the window now, weather's dreadful, you know, it's 10:30 in the morning, I'm making this video, and it's the thing of like, last night, I know I had to go out and get my steps in, it was raining, it wasn't good. This morning, again, same thing, out, rain, but just had to be done. And yeah, at the minute, I'm not kind of getting the reward and the scale moving, not sure if, you know, shape's changing, things like that, but it's just sticking with it. So another one that I've massively fell into is mind reading and comparison. So what I mean by that is, you know, worrying about what other people think of you. That is a massive thing. So I know first and foremost that I've got people that view my content on Instagram, because I say on the story who views what, you know, obviously who likes, who comments, whatever. And there's people that are viewing that I know they're waiting for me to kind of pack in with the online coaching, or, you know, get fat again or whatever. You know, they're just waiting for that. But I'm not bothered. I don't care. If anything, I flip that and I turn it into fuel and try and do better than them, to try and show them up and blame them for, not blame them, but show them up for almost doubt me in a way, you know? And the worst thing you can do is going around and comparing, thinking, oh, well, you know, I'm not as good as them, or they must think this of me. That is another thing. It is another trap. You know, and anyone that you know that dislikes you, says bad things about you, things like that, people that I've got that I know view my content, things like that, then use that as fuel to push you forward, you know? The thing is, when you start the comparing as well, you don't know how these people feel as well. You know, you would see someone that you think has the best condition, best life in the world, whatever it is, and you could then be, you don't know that story of how they truly feel about themselves. You know, for all you know, they could be comparing themselves to you and think, no, you know, I wish I could be in their position, you know? And you don't know any of that. You just keep filling in the blanks with the worst possible version, you know, thinking, I'm so behind, I'm miles off, what's the point of trying? And you've gone from looking at someone's best 15 seconds in a day on Instagram, maybe, you know, a story clip, something like that, to deciding how bad your life is. And that's just not a good way to be on, you know. That can really be how powerful your thinking is. So something I want to talk about as well is your environment feeds your thinking as well. You know, I'm not trying to make this video super long. I've got quite a lot of notes here that I'm determined to try and get through. But environment's something I've talked about a lot. I'm not going to sort of stay on it too much, but if you're scrolling through Instagram all day, you just sat on your phone, I don't know, Reddit, whatever, YouTube, it's no good to just be wasting that time, wasting that energy, putting that focus onto that when you could be putting it into something positive. And, you know, maybe you're living with people that are causing drama, arguments, you haven't got the support there, you know, and that is a very negative environment, and you are beaten before you've even tried, you know, in those sorts of situations, being around toxic people, toxic environments, or not even toxic, just people that are, you know, lazy or motivated, people that you're not inspired by. And it's very, very dangerous. And then the thing is, from that, you blame your motivation from that. If your environment's constantly affecting your well-being, your mental health, the people you surround yourself with, the people you're living with, you need to somehow try and change it and get out. And I've had to do that a few times, and it's difficult, it's not easy, but it is going to help you massively. So before you start trying to think positive, fix the basics. So unfollow people on Instagram that maybe don't inspire you, maybe accounts that, trigger you or wind you up, whatever it is, get rid. Stop watching content that just makes you feel, angry or numb. So for me, I'll be honest, it has nothing to do with conspiracies and things like that, but honestly, I just can't be bothered with the news, things like that. Might grab the headlines, but I'm not reading stories and, I'm not reading about sort of politics, things like that. If anything, I'm interested in what's happening in the world of sport. Obviously, the Ashes are coming up with the cricket, so I'm interested in that, even though we're going to get demolished off Australia, but never mind. So that's the kind of thing, surround yourself with decent stuff. Again, for the millionth time, spend less time around people that are draining you, that are just not even putting their problems on you, but just aren't even making an effort to even pick up the phone now and again, and people that aren't pushing you and wanting you to win, that is a big thing. And you don't need a perfect environment by any means. We're never going to get that, but you don't want to be living in or being surrounded by clutter, and that's the best way I can put it. So there's a little 3-step process that I've tried to use with myself that I've been taught as well, and catch, question and change. So essentially, you can't change what you don't notice. So first job is to get the thought. So for example, I'm a failure. You pick that one out. Just pause and go, why am I saying that to myself? Have the gap, have the pause, have a think, question it and challenge it. Is it true? What evidence do you have? Evidence is always a big word. And then even if you come up with something, so if it's I'm a failure and it's maybe you had a takeaway last night, you had something off plan, whatever, is that really going to completely destroy the week? Was it that bad that you've completely blown the week? Even from that, does that then rule out any hard work you've put in previous, any goals that you've maybe set yourself? Does that completely blow everything away? Or did you just have a couple of bad meals at the worst and then just, have you had some decent days in the run-up to it? Things like that. It's, are you actually back to square one, or are you just being a little bit over the top? And then, again, change it. Have something in there more useful. So we've caught it, we've questioned it, then it's changing it, turn it around. So just saying, maybe something like for next time. Next time I'll plan it in, fit it in with my calories, something like that. And again, you've changed it, you've turned it around. Could it be the thing of where you maybe going to plan a big session for the next day? So whatever extra carbs you've had, something like that, is going to be used as fuel for the session, for example. So section 5 is, we're getting through it. I haven't even been announcing sections as I go, but never mind. According to my notes that I've made, this is section 5. I put a lot of thinking into these things. Practical tools to try and fix your thinking. So something that I've put in place, I think was a Mel Robbins thing, is a 5-minute rule. And I think she talks about something similar in a book. I'm probably paraphrasing, don't sue me, Mel. But when your head's gone, try and get it under control. Have 5 minutes of walking, just 5 minutes, just with no distractions, no phone, something like that. Just have a little bit of time to sort of think and try and, again, going back to what I was saying earlier, try and catch yourself. Have that little 5 minutes where you need to maybe have a rant, get it out of your system, whatever it is, cool off, and then just come back, and try and never miss twice, So we've all missed sessions, we've all had a blowout, we've all skipped steps, we maybe even had fears of that, or done that in a day, all those things in one day, but just try not to miss twice. Don't miss it 2 in a row. Don't start racking those things up. Don't let it become a new habit, Miss Monday, then Tuesday, it's like a non-negotiable, get things done. Have a big takeaway, something like that, then your next thing's back on plan. It's in with your calories, however you're tracking it, whatever you're doing, okay? So the old thinking pattern could be, I've blown it for the week. The new one is I messed up, I'm going to just bounce back and sort things out, okay? Super important. The morning win, so first thing on the morning, make your bed, drink a glass of water, get some electrolytes in, get some steps in, cold shower, whatever it is, no phone for the first 30 minutes maybe. It doesn't need to be heroic or some long-winded routine of tons of different things. It just needs to give you evidence that you can just do something you said you were going to do. Putting your clothes out the night before for the gym or a walk or something like that, and then actually following through with it, it's going to be very, very good. So something else, journaling, I've touched on before. Simple format. You're not needing to go on for hours with this. What are you thinking? What's the truth? What are you going to do next? So example, thinking that you're failing at everything, thinking that, I'm stressed from work, I'm tired, but thinking, I've still actually gone to the gym 3 times this week, I've still hit my step target most days. So the truth is actually taking that statement at the beginning and turning it round. The next best thing is going to be, you have the next meal you planned, maybe go for a 10-minute walk. So super simple, something like that. Again, it's not needing to be these crazy sort of routines, something that's going to be impossible for you to keep up with or cause too much, stress to your body, something like that. You will be shocked at how different a situation looks once it's written down. That was something I learned from Kieran O'Neill at TMP when I studied with him and on his course. Very, very good, TMP, you should check him out. And with that, it was the thing of, just any thoughts that you've got, just putting them out there, getting them onto the page, having a look at them, seeing what's there, and then extrapolating things from that and seeing like what can be done, what you're doing right, what can you do better, Very, very important. So responsibility for your thoughts. This is kind of the last thing I'm going to touch on because I do want to wrap this up. I don't want these videos to be super long. I just kind of have my notes, get them out in one take and very simple edit. And that's, I say simple edit. I chop the beginning off, chop the end off, and that's it. So when I say the beginning, I mean me pressing play on the camera and sitting down at the end, getting back up and turning it off. So very, very quick. So this is the uncomfortable bit. This is the last part, but having some responsibility, taking some accountability, especially if you're, like me, late 20s, 30 in January, you need to be having this responsibility over your thoughts, over your actions, over your feelings. At some point, you've got to decide, it's not my thoughts, I'm just the one who chooses what to do with them. So you wake when I'm on, you can't be bothered. That doesn't matter, you get something done anyway, You can't control the rubbish that your brain throws up sometimes. I've had it. You're useless, your content shit. Why do you make YouTube videos when you get nearly no views? Why are you still doing this podcast when, when it's not done too much more than bring you a bit of happiness? There's been no money made. There's been a lot of time put in. Things like, obviously great conversations, but again at the same time I do get those thoughts like, as it stands now on the 13th of November at 20 to 11, I haven't got an episode for Monday. I need to sort something out. So that is like the thing that you can't control your thoughts, but it's what you can do with them. So for example, I'm still going to make content, whether I get 1 view or 1 million views, it doesn't matter. It might just help somebody, Still going to make the podcast because I enjoy them. Forget the money. I make money or endorsements or whatever, that doesn't matter. I actually enjoy doing it, and that was why I started doing it. I was lucky. I am lucky to know a lot of people and be able to get some great figures on there to be able to talk to, and I can control whether I believe those thoughts, those negative thoughts, feed them or act on them. It's really simple as that. About taking responsibility. Not about blaming yourself, it's about saying, I might not be able to control my past, I can't control what's happened to me. Obviously, maybe one day we'll go into a few bits on here about, child trauma, things like that, but that is not something for today. But I can always control what I do next, and so can you. You can control whether you show up today or not, whether you do something for you, whether you look after yourself, that kind of thing. You can control whether you act like the person you want to become, or you can stay stuck and stay the same, or still be the person that you maybe can't stand. Discipline starts with that decision to actually own up and get stuck in. So if you take anything from this video, let it be this. You don't have a motivation problem. You just have a willpower problem. We've said this before. Actually, I've said this before. Not we, but there you go. You have a thinking pattern that you've maybe rehearsed for years, and that is going to be very hard to get away from. But the good news is you can change it, you can question it, you can challenge it, as we've gone through. Take one small action that backs up the news story, something small that you can do. Do that enough times, and in 6 to 12 months, you won't recognise yourself. The problem is, It's not a problem. But the downside maybe is it is going to take a bit of time. That is just one of those things. But if this helped you, feel free to share it. Share it with a mate. Share it with someone that might need it. Share it with someone that overthinks. Feel free to give me a tag on Instagram at Ashton Online Coaching. Always listening. Always happy to take on any feedback, thoughts, to give you a bit hand. This has been Coach Con. Thank you for listening. God bless you. I'll see you in the next one.